Man, we got some big things going on over here at Fantasy Intervention, guys. We got some big things. Let me tell you, we got another podcast that's starting out on Thursday. God, I cannot wait to actually get, the formal announcement out there. We've got quick shots out there, right? Dave put out a couple of them already. We got our other boy out there. He's working on some. We got things in the works, guys. We got things in the works. Things are happening over here at Fantasy Intervention, and I could not be more excited. But tonight we're not talking about what's going on, over the next, I guess this upcoming week or anything like that. We're focused on Sunday here. We are focused on Sunday and our DFS episode. And of course, I can't just do this alone, right? I did that last year. I did everything alone last year. It's much better with friends. And so I had to bring on my friend Bo over here. What's going on, Bo? How you doing, man?
Hey. I'm doing great. I just got off work, ordered some DoorDash, and everything's swimmingly. All my lineup builds ready to go.
What'd you get?
Habit Burger.
What's a Habit Burger?
It's a kind of local chain on the West Coast, kind of like In-N-Out, but a little bit more of your classical drive-through fare.
I've never even heard of that.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
That's good, man. That's good. So real quick, Bo, you're a DFS expert, right? Made millions of dollars doing this.
Allegedly.
So obviously, you write for Nimblewood Numbers over there. So can you go ahead and let everybody know where to find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Bo_MickBigTime. You can also find my hot sauce at hotboxbatch.com. And that's also at hotboxbatch. And my writing, of course, at nimblewoodnumbers.com, nimblewnumbers.com/Bo-knows-DFS. And I do 2 articles a week. The first one's kind of a reactionary piece where I'm fading certain overpriced guys from last week, and I'm propping up guys that maybe didn't have a good performance the week before, but are going to be priced down as a result that I'm going to attack this week. And then Friday is my lineup build, and that's been dropped on the website today. So I'm going to be kind of pulling from that article with today's show, so you guys can win some money with me.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I did read over your article. Great article over there. Make sure you guys go check it out. Nimblewnumbers.com, right? But is it?
Yeah. Nimble W numbers. Yep.
I like that, man. I like that. So, yeah, we're going to be diving into this slate. And I swear to God, man, I felt like now that I'm looking back on it, I feel like this is the week to play all slot receivers. I swear to God. Like every time I came up with something, it was like the worst slot corner up against a great slot receiver. And it just kept on happening time and time again. So we will dive into that. But I want to talk about last week real quick, just to gloss over it, because the volatility was absolutely real last week, right?
It's crazy.
We've been seeing like shootout after shootout, without as many blowouts, right? But last week there were 6 games which had a 15-point gap in scoring. We saw all shootouts, previous up to this. This week we saw pretty much all blowouts. This could happen again this week. There are 4 games that have the spread set at 8+ points. And there are a couple like Tennessee and Houston that, we're looking at as shootouts. But if the Tennessee Titans play like they did last week up against, who was it? The Bills? Yeah, like we could end up seeing a complete blowout.
I hope not. The blowouts kill me because I'm a cash player and I like to see those back and forth shootouts like we've been seeing up to the last week. And those blowouts last week just killed me because I could not get a peg down. Every good play I had was countered by a bad one. So it was just a rough week for me because the blowouts just I didn't see them coming.
I mean, another one when we talk about, like the blowouts that could actually happen. Was that new? Why is it in the bottom corner, not all the way across? Is that showing up normal for you at the bottom?
No, it's small and on the left.
That's weird. I don't know what I did. Anyways, sorry guys. The other game that could actually turn into a big time blowout versus like a competitive game is Pittsburgh and Cleveland, right?
Right.
Cleveland might not be able to keep up in the passing game. The defense could end up stepping it up in the secondary. The defense has not been playing, good so far. So I don't know, man. That's definitely a situation that we could see where it's going to be a blowout versus an actual shootout. What do you think is going to happen with this Cleveland-Pittsburgh game? Do you think it's going to be low scoring? Do you think it's going to be a shootout? Do you think it's going to be a blowout? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a close game because Cleveland has done nothing but impress when faced with a spread against their favor. Pittsburgh is favored, of course, but it's going to come down to it's a divisional matchup. These two teams hate each other. It's the Myles Garrett revenge game. We're looking at a game where I see some points being scored, but I think Cleveland, if they're going to get blown out, it's because their run game isn't going to be as effective as it has been. Pittsburgh's defense is for real. Like against the run, against the pass, that's a great defense. So Cleveland's going to have to raise up their game even more if they're going to stay in it, because Pittsburgh's pretty easily going to be able to throw the ball around.
Yeah, I could agree with you more, to an extent, but we got to see what happens. Now, I want this week. This is what I want for this week. I want high scoring, but I want hidden predictability, which means that we can kind of see what's going to happen in certain games, but it's not over the top obvious. Like, it's not like the average, DFS gamers can actually see it, but we can find it.
Yes.
And I don't think that there's a really hidden secret with the Lions-Jags, going to be a high scoring game. But I think the area as to where there's hidden predictability is finding the value here. Yeah. Detroit is terrible up against the running back and the wide receiver, but they're actually really good up against the quarterback and the tight end. They rank second on DraftKings because of this bend but don't break play style up against the quarterback position. And maybe that's because teams have blown them out or whatever the case is. But after I just look deeper into it, right? They're actually they're 1-3, but they've only been blown out one time. And that was up against who was it? Who were they blown out by?
Packers.
The Packers. Yeah. So up against the Bears, they were winning going into the fourth quarter.
They set that NFL record where they blew 4 consecutive 10-point leads. So that's what's happening is they get off to a 10-point, 15-point lead and they just blow it in the end.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I really do think it's this defense who actually has allowed 9 touchdowns in the air so far this season that is going to allow Matt Stafford to actually have a great game this upcoming week. I really do. I know that the Lions defense is actually pretty solid overall when it comes to, up against the passing game, right? They haven't allowed a quarterback to hit 300 yards yet. Minshew is pretty much the opposite end of the spectrum, right? He's hit 300 yards and multiple touchdowns in 3 of the 4 games so far this season, or 3 of the last 4 games. But he's needed 40 passing attempts to do so.
Captain Garbage Time.
Yeah, with Detroit's run defense being pretty much non-existent, right? I don't know that Minshew's going to hit that 40 pass attempt mark, right? I think it's going to be a huge, huge James Robinson game. What do you think?
I'm thinking this game might be a little bit under expectations for scoring because of that factor. I don't really see James Robinson popping off for a massive performance, but I do see that more of a grinding game where the clock is moving faster. And because the Jaguars aren't going to have to shoot out to come back. They're not going to have to throw it 40 times to come back because the game will be closer. I think I'm going to take the under on this game, but I think Stafford will put up decent numbers. I don't know if he'll pop off big, and I don't think Robinson's going to pop off big because even as bad as the Lions' run defense is, Aaron Jones is the only one that really busted them for big runs. It's just been 5, 6 yards a clip, killing the clock, and then at the end of the game, they blow it by giving up passing touchdowns.
I don't know, man. I think that you can actually use the running back in the passing game against them, but you can gash them up the middle. I mean, don't forget, Latavius Murray just put up 2 touchdowns, 60 yards, not to mention Kamara's 83 yards and a touchdown on the ground. I mean, I don't think that Thompson's going to factor in at all. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning towards James Robinson actually having a big game this week. Now, when it comes to the other end of the spectrum, I'm not really interested in playing any other Jags, right? I know Chenault in a good spot, with Shark possibly missing this game. And the Lions, they suck up against guarding the deep ball, but they're actually pretty good underneath. They primarily get beat with speed on the outside. So I don't know, man. I feel like if Shark plays, Shark is the play here, but I don't like Chenault playing underneath. They just don't give up a ton of yards to the underneath receiver.
Well, I mean, if you think Chenault's just an underneath receiver, then I would agree with you. I love Chenault in general as a GPP player this week because his floor has been 10 points every single week, and we still haven't seen him break out for that big performance that his talent indicates could very well happen. He was lined up all over the field this season, out wide, in the slot, in the backfield. He's the Swiss Army knife, and if you think that he's the only running back, quote unquote, or if Robinson's the only running back, quote unquote, then you're wrong because Chenault very well could take touches out of the backfield and do the same things that Robinson can do. I think Chenault's pretty sneaky, and at 5,200, that's not a bad price for somebody with the floor like he has.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't think, and I love Laviska Shenault. I was huge on Laviska Shenault. He was a first round pick for me in dynasty rookie leagues, but I just don't think that there's going to be enough opportunity for him there to actually, break it big. And don't forget, like Shenault didn't have a single carry this past week. So they're actually dwindling down on his carries out of the backfield. I think they're trying to keep him fresh because of how good he is. But my main concern is actually like the unrealized air yards and stuff. Like he's getting as much as he can. He's almost like maxing out to an extent. He only has 70 unrealized air yards, right? And when it comes to his actual air yards themselves, it's not a lot. So he's being asked to catch the ball close to the line of scrimmage and make plays. Meanwhile, that's where the Lions actually do really, really well. So, like I said, I don't have that much interest in playing him. I just don't see where the upside is. Like, is he going to finish off with a 2-touchdown, 150-yard day? I don't know if that's in the realm of possibilities.
Maybe not.
But
like you said, and like what I said before, is I don't see this game really going as a shootout because of both running games being effective. I think Swift is another great play in this game because at his price, I mean, he might be all the chalk I eat this week. And that's when it comes down to this game. I'm looking at the running backs because I don't think that the passing attacks are going to be as explosive.
Yeah, see, I'm on the other end of the spectrum because I actually really want to play Matthew Stafford in this game, right? He's been average so far this season. He's been very, very pedestrian, right? But Patricia's been adamant about running the ball, and I just feel like this could set up huge for the play action fake. I mean, the Jags have allowed the 6th most explosive plays in the air, right? They have three touchdowns for 300-yard games, along with they have 3 300-yard games and 3 with 3+ touchdowns to the quarterback position. So I actually like Matthew Stafford a lot this week, and I think he could actually exceed expectations, especially at his price. I mean, I think he's like the 3rd or 4th cheapest quarterback or something along those lines. He's cheap.
Yeah, he's around 6,000.
Now, I'm not going to stack him with who you think I'm going to stack him with. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it with Galladay. I might do one with Galladay. I'm not going to lie.
You're just talking about explosive pass plays.
I know. No, Galladay's, big time play in this, but with the explosive pass plays, I'm actually looking at Marvin Jones Jr. This is the perfect game for Marvin Jones Jr. And I wanted to go Amendola because, oh my God, the Jaguars just get crushed up against the slot receiver. But Amendola's upside is kind of limited. Meanwhile, Marvin Jones has actually been used a lot out of the slot this year, which is kind of surprising. So I'm looking for a vintage, Marvin Jones Jr. 4-touchdown game this year,
That'd be nice. I mean, Marvin Jones hurt us last time we were keying on him. He kind of burned us really bad. Last time he had a smash matchup against a really bad pass defense, and Galladay was out that game. We were just like, oh, man, Marvin Jones. And what did he freaking do? He did absolutely nothing. So, I mean, I love the player. I have Marvin Jones across a lot of leagues. But, I mean, it's a scary thing, especially when I'm kind of predicting an under total in this game. It's dicey because Galladay's healthy.
Are supposed to be scary. You didn't.
Yeah.
Playing Travis Fulgham and Chase Claypool, like I told you to last week, was scary, but it worked out. Playing Chase Edmonds was scary, but it worked out, right?
Chase Edmonds was a smash. I mean, that was a great play, and yeah, I was on the same boat with that one.
And then Darren Bells, that was scary, but it panned out.
I don't know where I was. I don't know where I was when they announced that Akins was going to miss, but I totally missed on Fells, and I would have been all over him if I knew that Akins was out. that was just a miss on my part. I didn't catch the news, and so I was pretty disappointed that I couldn't find that bargain tight end last week.
Oh, man. I pretty much love everybody on the Lions offense. I know that you have the under, but I love everybody. I have Hawkinson lined up in here. I've got
Barry Sanders lined up.
I got Barry Sanders lined up. I got Calvin Johnson. I love every Lions player in this matchup. To be honest,
Herman Moore is going to play this week.
But my biggest play, the one that I'm smashing home, and you already brought it up earlier, but I'm just going to emphasize DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, baby.
He never really he never has had this breakout opportunity like he does this week, but I am sensing a huge, huge breakout from this potential matchup. After coming off a bye week where they have time to, get him involved in the game plan and to make sure that he's running the right plays. I think that they're going to draw up at least minimum a handful, 10 plays, 2 handfuls, 10 plays for DeAndre Swift. And then,
I believe it.
We saw the Colts tear them up in the passing game when we talk about Jacksonville, and then Mixon racked up 15 points alone in the passing game up against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
And that's not including the massive day he had on the ground as well. I mean, Swift led the team in snaps in weeks 1 and 2, had a bizarre week in week 3 where he only saw 6 snaps. And I think he must have missed an assignment or something, or maybe he was hurt and reports just never came out.
Who knows with Patricia? He's a wackadoodle.
That was bizarre, but he was only 4 behind Adrian Peterson this past week. And I think that he assumes that top end role again in a game that I expect to be a shootout, and I expect to get everything to work. So I love Swift this week. He's a smash play.
Is there any word on Adrian Peterson's illness that he missed practice for?
Yeah, he's fine. He's a full play.
Yeah.
It's not COVID.
Okay.
So I was hoping that would factor in. I would hope.
Oh my God.
God, man.
Can you imagine the chalk though at 4,500 for Swift if he had the lead back roll with Peterson out? And that would
be owned everywhere.
Everywhere. So this might be our diamond in the rough because Peterson, I mean, he's out there. He's going to get some touches, but other than the one game against the Bears, I think he had busted off some big runs. He hasn't done much. And Swift has done a lot with the touches he's received. I mean, I still remember week 1 when he had that game-winning touchdown right in his hands and dropped it. And I think that if he had actually caught that, Peterson might have been taking second fiddle backseat from that moment forward. This might just be that week where we finally see it.
Yeah, keep in mind, by the way, both of these teams rank in the top 6 in pace of play.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge.
When both of the teams are up there in pace, that means that neither one of them is going to slow the other one down. And that's great because the more plays you get in, plays are volume. The more plays you get in, the more volume you get in, and that's nice.
All right, so let's hop over to our next game.
Yep.
If you take out the Colts game, right, where the Phillip Rivers just sucked ass, the Browns are allowing the Browns are allowing 325 yards and 3 touchdowns to the quarterback position on average. 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now you have Big Ben, who's been very good. He hasn't been great, but he's been very good. He's had 3 of his 4 games go above 21 fantasy points, but none of those have gone above 23 fantasy points. So he's in that sweet spot where you're going to get enough value there, but you're not going to win with him in that week. I think that this could be the week with the Browns, allowing 325 yards and 3 touchdowns, right?
Who's to say it won't happen? And Big Ben's doing it week by week. He's doing it with different receivers each week. I mean, Deontay being out does hurt him a little bit because that's kind of his little slot blanket. But Claypool, he's a freak, man. He's very talented. And even if they do key on him, because I don't think Juju's really that good of a wide receiver. He's good in that system, but he's not that talented. Claypool's very talented. They're going to have to scheme to cover that guy. I see this as a Big Ben / Connor game, and I know you disagree with that, but it's I have a feeling that Connor might get 10 catches in this game.
Well, I mean, the thing is like the game script has been very competitive for the Steelers so far, right? For the most part. They haven't blown out a bunch of teams or anything like that, but James Conner, right? He's been running the ball. He's been getting the volume. Big Ben only has 1 week where he attempted over 37 passes. So the interesting part to this is the fact that, James Conner and this Browns run defense might not click. when we look at the Cleveland Browns, right, and their 18th rank up against the defense, that doesn't really insinuate that they're great up against the running back, right? Like that actually insinuates that they're bad. But the reality is they haven't allowed a single running back to go over 60 yards rushing on the ground. And they're averaging 3.7 yards per carry allowed. That's the Browns defense. They're crushing on the ground. They just suck. They just suck up against the passing game. So the crazier part is these running backs that they have played. They've played Zeke. They've played Mixon. They've played Antonio Gibson. They played Mark Ingram. They played Jonathan Taylor. That's pretty impressive to not allow any single one of those running backs to go over 60 yards, right?
Especially at 60 yards isn't that high of a bar. You get one big run, and that's going to be easily eclipsed. It's what's impressive is a couple of those were pretty positive game script related stoppages where the team was having to come back on Cleveland and throwing it every down like the Cowboys. That's the only thing I can see there. But 3.7 yards a carry, that's nothing to sniff at as a run defense because
that's great.
That's really good.
It is. And
I don't think Connor's that good for more than 4 yards a carry anyway, but he's going to get so much volume in that game.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about is if they end up running it and he's getting 2 yards a carry, 3 yards a carry, and they're not able to actually perform at a high end level, like on second down, it's going to be a lot of third and long. So Connor's not going to get a lot of that third down work. But like I said, the main reason why they get that 18th rank is because of the receiving game. They're allowing 29 receptions for 245 yards in the air to the running back position. That's crazy. That's crazy. Right? Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Connor only has 20 or more receiving yards in one game so far this year. That's it. Like he hasn't had more than 20 yards receiving. He's not a pass catching back, really,
Yes, he is. He averaged like 12 targets a game last year.
No, he did not. He didn't play last year.
Yeah, he did. Before he got hurt, he was getting all kinds of PPR points. I remember because I got Monday Night Miracled by Connor catching 12 passes for 40 yards, and in a PPR, it just killed me because he had 35 points.
But that's not good. Big Ben hasn't had wide receivers. Like he's been struggling with the wide receiver, situation over there. So of course he's going to target him slightly more in certain games, but he's not a pass catching back, man. He can't. What? Come on.
That offense is heavy running back focus. What happened last week was the Eagles linebacker, I forget his name, but the guy with the long blonde hair, he's allowed 13 catches on 13 targets for like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns this year. And Claypool ate him alive. And that was mostly, you're not going to dump it off to the running back if your slot receiver is wide open every play.
And that could end up happening. Like that could really end up happening because of the fact that, man, the Browns are not good up against the slot. And mainly that's because Denzel Ward and not Hilliard, who's on the outside over there, has been actually really good so far this year. Been crushing it so far this year. So I'm actually looking forward to a huge week from Juju. That's actually who I'm stacking him with, right?
I like it.
In addition to not only Juju Smith-Schuster getting a good amount of looks, I think the Big Ben is going to be a smash this week, regardless of who you stack him with on the wide receiver side, outside of Washington, James Washington. Baker's protection rate is 27th, and the Steelers' defense is getting pressure on the quarterback a whopping 41% of the time. 41% of the dropbacks, they're getting pressure on the quarterback. That's nuts.
Yeah, T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree are all day in the backfield.
We're talking about short field positions. We're talking about quick scores, right? It wouldn't shock me to see Big Ben with like 5 touchdowns this week and only 300 passing yards. I'm just saying. Would not shock me.
And I love the Steelers defense this week because if we know anything about Baker Mayfield is you put the heat on him and he cracks. He cracks every time. You get pressure on him and he's going to crack.
And that's the reality of the situation. It's not going to be a great game script at all. So let's go ahead and look at who I'm running them back with, I believe. Hold on. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the show sheet. It's tough not to love Juju this week. Slot corners are abusing this defense, like I talked about earlier. Boyd, Snead, Hilton, and Lamb have all had great games against them. This is a big Juju week for me. Plus, Johnson's out. So we're most likely going to see Ward coverage on Claypool. And Ward's really good at shutting down the wide receiver. I know that he's had a few, what are they called? Just mess ups in general. And
yeah, those are communication things, though. I mean, it's not skill based. It's just like, oh, I thought I had safety help over the top, and he wasn't there.
Yeah, Ward honestly should be fine on Claypool. He's got the athletic profile to be able to defend him. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, like we talked about, it's just been a very solid defense outside of the slot position and outside of the safeties over there in Cleveland. So I'm not going to rely on either one of those wide receivers when it comes to James Washington or Claypool.
No, Claypool's going to be really shiny. I mean, he's still priced up from last week, which is already
like 52
a red flag.
Or something, or 55.
Yeah, it's already a red flag for the price hike he experienced from. I mean, he deserved it. I mean, you have a performance like that, you're going to get marked up. But just the ownership rates, people seeing just that surface matchup with a Cleveland secondary that's susceptible to deep balls. And you see a guy at 6'5", runs a 4.40, they're gonna gravitate to Claypool like a bug zapper. I mean, it's gonna be something where you can sneak Juju in there at a lower ownership, and he's a better option this week.
Yeah, I love Juju Smith-Schuster this week. He's a smash play for me. Hey, can you check the private chat real quick? All right, so I'm gonna run it back. I'm gonna run it back with, of course, Jarvis Landry, right? Like I said, this week, when I said at the beginning of the podcast, this week is like one of those weeks where it's just, just literally like smash play at the corner or at the slot wide receiver position. This slot, I'm just smashing away this week. It's just great matchup after great matchup. And just like we talked about, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jarvis Landry is going to have a very similar thing happen in Pittsburgh. Hilton has been the victim of pretty much assault case after assault case. I mean, last week with Fulgham, oh, man, Fulgham took him to town, right? 152 yards on 10 catches for 13 targets, right? God, man, Cobb and Judy, they both did well matched up against Hilton. I love Claypool. I love Jarvis Landry.
Good for you.
You're not buying it? You're not buying it?
I mean, it all sounds good, but it's just the Browns – They like throwing to Jarvis Landry. I think that they're going to try to lean on that running game. Kareem Hunt, they're going to try to kill the clock, keep Big Ben off the field. I don't see that this as a big Jarvis Landry game. I think you're going to see a lot of dump offs to Kareem Hunt. You're going to see some swing, like little design screens for OBJ. I don't see the upside there. I mean, I see him with a nice safe floor for a cash game, but in a tournament, I'm not going to bank on Jarvis Landry finally having a breakout game.
I don't know, man. Fulgham took him to town for 152 yards on
Fulgham's
10.
pretty talented, though. Fulgham is pretty talented. And
so is Jarvis Landry.
I'm not saying Jarvis Landry is obviously a better receiver than Fulgham by a mile. I just don't know if that game plan is going to be the same.
Yeah, I understand that. All right. One of the other games we're looking at is Minnesota and Atlanta, right? Mm-hmm. We have, Matt Ryan and the Calvin Ridley stack potentially. Running back with Thielen. I love Thielen this week. I love Thielen. He's fourth in deep targets.
Yeah, this whole game it's a GPP game stack dream.
But you're staying away from Madison then, right?
Oh yeah, I don't want anything to do with Madison this week. He just doesn't have any upside. He's gonna get he's gonna get your cash game volume because of Cook being out. But the guy doesn't break off big runs. Like he doesn't have good vision. He doesn't have that good of speed. Give me the passing options in that game because they're gonna have to throw to keep up. Atlanta's gonna score points. Minnesota's better keep up through the passing game. So I'm big on Cousins. I'm big on Jefferson. I'm big on Thielen.
No, I like that 100%. I love that. All right. We are going to go with – where am I? Sorry. Our next one, right? Or I should say, are there any other games you're attacking?
Yeah, I'm attacking the Tennessee-Houston game. That's my sneaky shootout of the week. And for the very reason that these two teams are having a very efficient go on offense on both sides, and neither defense is really that great. They're both kind of average middle of the road defenses, and the offenses are clicking on both sides. Houston, surprisingly, has been throwing the ball well to Fuller and to Cooks last week, which was out of left field.
I told you Will Fuller was a play last week.
No, Fuller wasn't out of left field.
Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Cooks. I'm sorry. I thought you said Fuller.
If you called Cooks, I'm impressed.
I did say Cooks. I said Cooks is the other guy you can go to. If you're not going to play Fuller, you have to play Cooks. But I did predict Fuller over Cooks.
Yeah. And for me, I'm going to more stack the Tennessee side and then run it back with Fuller this week. I love Jonnu. I love A.J. Brown. And Tannehill is every week he's been a top 10 quarterback since last season, week 14.
That's awesome.
He's solid. He's got crazy big upside because his top targets, I mean, A.J. Brown and Jonnu Smith are a big play waiting to happen. They're both yards after the catch guys. And, of course, they have Derrick Henry, and they don't even have to throw it to him. But, I mean, I faded Henry last week on Tuesday because, I mean, I just didn't see the game flow working out for him. He, of course, scored 2 touchdowns, but he got bottled up by Buffalo. And I think Houston is going to score enough points to keep Henry kind of honest with the touches. So I think that Tennessee and Houston are going to have to throw the ball more.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I hear that. That's a murky water situation. I feel like that game could be, a complete blowout. It could also, perform pretty well overall. So it's something as to where it's something where I'm going to have some plays in it, but I'm not going to be attacking that one in like every single one. So let's go ahead and hop into our sneaky good plays. Our sneaky good plays. Guys in the chat, just to give you all a heads up, we're not doing starter sit questions. This is a DFS episode. So we're trying to stick to the game script because a lot of people that will listen to this episode on the podcast want the facts, want the numbers, and they want to make money. So we're not going to, sidetrack on starter sit questions. But I do it for most of the other episodes. So go tune into those. Now, sneaky plays, my favorite one, hidden in plain sight, right in front of your face. My DFS picks, right? It's the most expensive back on the slate. And it's nuts to me. We were talking about it before the show. Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones can put up some massive stats this week, right? Vita Vea's out with the toe injury. And everybody's afraid to play Aaron Jones because he's 7,800. Guess what, guys? 7,800 is not that much, especially for the production you're getting from Aaron Jones. You're pretty much saying, like, at 7,800 that he's going to score 16 to 18 fantasy points. Dude, he should smash that this week. He should hit the 30s this week. I love Aaron Jones. How do you feel about Aaron Jones?
He is one of the only matchup-proof running backs on any team in the league. And so when you have the big names either injured or off the main slate and you have your top price running back who's just as capable of putting up to your 30-plus point matchup and he's under $8,000, line him up, and don't even blink putting him in there. That's an easy play that's going to be super low owned for whatever reason, and I'm all excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be stupid fun. I love it. I absolutely love it. There's a lot of Packers I'm actually going to be playing in this game, over actually Tampa Bay. So, yeah, I love the situation. I think it's going to be a smash play. So, I believe you have one, don't you?
I do. I have the entire Patriots passing game as a sneaky play. The COVID bye week that they took last week when they were supposed to play the Broncos, that kind of got people off the radar with the Patriots and Cam Newton. Cam Newton's active off the COVID list, and he's got some cheaply priced wide receivers that are going to get 8 to 10 targets and have a huge amount of big play upside against a Broncos secondary that's all banged up. And the Broncos' run defense is good enough to bottle up whatever running attack they're going to have on the New England side. So I'm thinking Cam Newton's going to toss it 40-plus times, and you're going to look at Damiere Byrd and N'Keal Harry that are both going to probably go off. So I'm going to be heavily targeting the Patriots passing game.
You're ruining the show sheet, man. You're ruining the show sheet. You're getting ahead of it.
You said sneaky plays.
I like it.
It's really sneaky, right?
Yeah, no, I like it. It is. It's a great play. I didn't realize that you actually had it as well as I did. So
I wrote it in there too.
Yep, I see that now. So I'll take that. I think that I think it's going to be a very, very interesting situation this week. Obviously, Gilmore is giving up yards, right? Adrian Phillips is their safety, and could end up lining up in the slot one-on-one with Jerry Jeudy. So I'm thinking that Jerry Jeudy could have an absolutely massive, massive game. We see him on the verge of breaking out. I mean, he saw at least seven targets in the first 3 games, and then week 4 he didn't have them on targets, but he came down with a great catch. And now they got Drew Lock coming back. I'm going to take some shots with Jerry Jeudy this week and select lineups. I'm not going to play him everywhere, but I will have him, especially as a run back if I want to play like Cam Newton and N'Keal Harry. I like him. I think it's going to be a smash play.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous with Locke, but I love Jerry Jeudy. And you're right. The Patriots defense is getting torched on deep balls.
It's so weird.
And Jerry Jeudy he's a deep threat if you ever saw one.
Well, I think teams are having more time to pass up against the Patriots this year compared to, last year because of half of that front 7, entering into, opting out because of COVID. So I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a big time game for him. And we saw Gilmore actually struggles up against deep targets. That's why he's giving up, the mass amount of yards that he's given up. We saw it up against John Brown last year. So I like it. But I'm huge this week. Just as much as Swift, I got another rookie running back, Antonio Gibson, right?
Mm-hmm. I love Gibson.
We're seeing a drop in his projected ownership down to about 5% the last time that I checked.
That's sexy.
And he's got the Giants, baby. He's got the Giants who are allowing 691 yards with 25 total receptions and 6 touchdowns in 5 games to the running back.
That's good, Bob.
That's not good. That's not good. Oh, my God. I don't think I need to say much more, right? I'm stacking Gibson. Antonio Gibson with the Washington defense, and I even think I'm throwing in Terry McLaurin. I really do.
That's a risky one, but for tournaments, like you said, the upside is huge for McLaurin, even though he's going to get the Bradbury matchup. That's what makes me nervous because Bradbury is a real deal. I mean, in Carolina, he was the real deal. He went to the Giants this year, and he's locking everybody down. If he's on the X receiver, he's going to stop him and bottle him up, and that's something I'm worried about.
Well, what's actually winning this year is the X receiver up against the Giants, who can also play in the slot. These guys are sliding in the slot to hide from Bradbury, and they're absolutely crushing it. If Washington can get a lead, if they can, I know that's tough to say and tough to think of, but if they can get a lead, man, I think you can see them with an opportunity to just tee off on Daniel Jones, which makes the defense relevant, with interceptions and whatnot. But you also see garbage time, but the way that they get the lead is through Terry McLaurin. So the storyline that I'm telling myself in order to start this defense and to start Antonio Gibson is that McLaurin has a hell of a game early. Gibson's still involved, and they want to run away with the lead on this one. And meanwhile, they're getting interceptions on, of course, Daniel Jones. They are bottom 10 in blitz percentage, right? But when they bring the blitz, they make it count. They are 6th in the NFL in sacks. And we know Daniel Jones has fumbling issues, baby.
Strip sack incoming.
Dude, not to mention they're 3rd in interceptions on the season, and Daniel Jones is 10th in interceptable passes.
Yeah. It's a walking turnover right there. New York has got a big problem because their franchise quarterback is a lot like Sam Darnold. The New York quarterback situation is they turn the ball over, and they've done it since college and during college. And now that they're in the league, they're doing the same things because the competition's getting amped up. And guess what? The Washington football team's front 7 it's mean. They get after it.
It is.
And that Giants offensive line is pitiful. And their quarterback doesn't have very good pocket awareness, which is why he turns the ball over so much. It's a nice recipe to have the nice Gibson Washington stack. I'll have plenty of that, and I love the price. Gibson 5,500. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's sick. That's just stupid. A starting running back that's actually good. Yeah, I'll take that all day. Take it all day. Now, another guy I want to bring up who I know you love is Frank Gore, right? Frank Gore should have a hell of a game up against Miami, who struggles up against Detroit. Oh, wait.
Miami,
Frank,
right.
Yeah, okay, Miami. Miami's defense is terrible up against grinders. They're just a massive gaping hole in the middle. So I'm expecting Frank Gore to at least end up with 60 yards, but what I'm interested in is Frank Gore getting 2 touchdowns. Now, Miami's defense is a lot better than what teams, give them credit for. But up against grinder running backs, for some reason, they just can't stop them. They know it's coming. They just can't stop them.
They lack size up front and in the middle of their defensive tackles are undersized. Their linebackers are undersized. So they're better in coverage. They're better at pass rushing. So you get your speed backs and they can run them down. You get a power back that can lay some thump down and they're going backwards. They're getting pushed around. And so you might be right there. I mean, Gore might still average 3.7 yards a carry, but if he hits pay dirt a couple times, then you nailed your pick.
Yeah, and Frank Gore's, he's cheap, man. He's really cheap. I think he's 4K. I think he's bottom level.
I like it.
He's low. Whatever he is, he's really, really low.
Nobody's going to have him, and nobody's going to have him.
Nobody will.
Like, Grandpa Gore, I mean, 4,000 is like, yeah, just throw your money into the DK pit of despair playing Grandpa Gore. But, I've seen crazier things happen.
Yeah, I like it this week, and he'll pay off if he gets one touchdown, much less two. All right, Jamison Crowder, sticking with the Jets, 6,100. And he's surrounded by Kenny Golladay and DJ Moore, right? And all these other big names. Right now, or I'm sorry, when I checked earlier when I wrote the show sheet, he was at 8.4%. But I'm expecting that number to come down as we get closer to the week. Dude, check this out, right? In 3 weeks, he finished with 28.6 fantasy points on DraftKings. He finished with 20.4 points on DraftKings. And then he finished with 27.5. Like, what the fuck? Like, Jamison Crowder is putting up 20, 28, 27, and 20-point weeks in all 3 weeks that he's played, right?
The terrible quarterback play.
Terrible with Joe Flacco at quarterback. His best week came with Joe Flacco.
And I didn't see that coming. I thought, the connections between Darnold and Crowder, they're blood brothers. I mean, they're attached at the hip. And Flacco's like, I'm 6'9". I can see him. Crowder's only like 5'7", and so he gets lost. I mean, he's your quintessential slot receiver where he's quick, really he's shifty, and he's always open. And every time I doubt him, like last week, all he does is produce, and all he does is get open on a 2-yard route and catch the ball. And at DK, where it's PPR, that's still money. And
money every time.
And I think that $6,100 price tag is dead on because it's just expensive enough to where, like you said, he's surrounded by bigger names. And all these Crowder doubters like me are going to be, oh, man, who do I want? Oh, DJ Moore. I just saw him bust off a 57-yard touchdown last week where he looked like the defense was standing still and he looked like he was jogging. It's like Crowder, he doesn't do any of that. He's gonna catch a dozen balls for like 5 air yards, and it's still gonna be the same number of points or even more.
Yeah, 28.6 last week. Are you kidding me? That's insane.
Last time I checked, 28. If he does 28 again off of 6,100, that's over 4x value, and that's still crazy because 6,100 is kind of getting up there for a wide receiver, especially if you're wide receiver 2 or 3 in a build, and that's it. That's great.
I love it. I love it. And he's up against Nick Needham, by the way, in the slot. And Nick Needham's just
wheels
terrible.
Up. Yeah, he can't cover anything.
All right, what about Will Fuller? Because, you talked about him in your Houston sack.
Yeah, I mean, I hate Will Fuller as a player. Like, he's just so volatile. And, I'm a cash game player. And I'm a guy who drafts – early on, I'm drafting floor farther into drafts than most people are. And when I play cash games, I'm not looking anywhere near a Will Fuller.
But Fuller's floor now, isn't he? Is he not floor now?
He's getting there. And that's why I'm kind of back on him this week because he's the only show in town. I don't trust Brandon Cooks week to week, even though he had the big game last week. Fuller is the guy if he's healthy. And so far, he's miraculously stayed on the field. So, I mean, I guess I'll have to say it. I hate the guy, but I'm going to play him.
Yeah. So he's had, so far this season, he had 19.2 points on DraftKings. He had 0 points up against Baltimore, but that's kind of understandable to an extent. But then he had 15.4 up against Pittsburgh. Against Minnesota, he had 22.8. And then last week up against Jacksonville, he had 15.8. So he's got floor. I mean, outside of the 0-point game, he's got floor.
Well, I mean, Baltimore, you're not really targeting upside against Baltimore anyway, because they do a really good job of capping people. But this week you have Jacksonville, or who are they playing?
Tennessee, who's
Houston,
25th
Tennessee.
against the wide receiver.
And Tennessee is giving up big plays in the passing game. I mean,
Yes,
the only reason they didn't give up any big plays to Buffalo because they played cover 4 all game and just let them just dump it off to Gabriel Davis all day. They're not going to be able to do that against Houston. Houston's going to have to manufacture some big plays, and Will Fuller is that guy.
Yeah, I love Will Fuller this week. They use him in every way possible. Love, love, love this pick. All right, up next. You go ahead and take this next one.
Where are we?
You're on
put it on
JT.
T. Oh, yeah. So Jonathan Taylor and the Colts defense is another one of my great stacks, because look at this offensive line that's been underperforming. JT's been underperforming. He's just laying in the weeds. He's got way too much talent, and they get Anthony Costanzo back this week, and that is a guy that they're 2-9 without Anthony Costanzo. That means he's pretty important, and he's a road grader in the run game, just like Quentin Nelson. He's just the other side of the line where he's just going to be busting faces and opening holes. And so I think JT is going to go absolutely
faces and opening holes.
Yeah. So JT's going to have a humongous game because Jordan Wilkins is probably going to miss time. He missed practice yesterday and today. And so, I mean, Nyheim Hines hasn't stolen any volume from JT. It's been Wilkins that's done that. And against the Bengals, good Lord, is there a better matchup for a running back than the Bengals? I don't think so.
Yes, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. And so I think JT's going to have a humongous game. He might be chalky, but I'll eat that chalk all week, and I'll pair him up with the Colts defense against a rookie quarterback.
So Robert Tonyan, right? He's been hot. He's been red hot.
For one game hot, yes.
He's been red hot, and he's coming off a bye week, right? So he's going to cool off a little bit, just a little bit. Plus, we're going to have people out there telling everybody to fade him. You know, some people that just don't understand fantasy football are going to be saying, hey, you should probably fade Robert Tonyan this week. But listen, like that red number 9th ranked defense, right? When you look at it, the matchups, it's going to scare people off. But I want to check out who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have actually played. Jared Cook, who's a decent tight end, 80 yards. Chris Manhertz. Who the fuck is Chris Manhertz? I don't even know who that. I've never heard that name before, and I do deep dives all the time. Right? He plays for Carolina. I actually went and looked at his stuff, but yeah, he's nobody.
It's Ian Thomas's uncle.
That's what it feels like. Noah Fant without a quarterback, right? Hunter Henry, who had 40 yards and should have had a touchdown, by the way, but he got sniped by Parham.
On Parham's one snap of the game.
One snap. He had one snap this entire season. I don't know about
highest
last week,
player efficiency rating in history. He should retire today.
Oh, man. He got sniped. Like, Hunter Henry should have actually had a touchdown. And then old man Jimmy Graham got 33 yards and a touchdown. Touchdowns are going to happen with his defense focused on, helping Sean Murphy Bunting keep Devontae Adams from getting into the end zone. I think that they're going to have bracketed coverage up against Devontae Adams. So I'm expecting the tight ends to get some work, especially in the red zone. Tanyan's a wide receiver who is converted tight end, very similar to Darren Waller. But he doesn't have a drug issue, number one. And number two is he's converted from that, from college into the pros. I'm expecting Robert Tonyan to at least get in the end zone minimum one time. I mean, they don't have anybody else outside of Devontae Adams, MVS, who's a deep threat. I love Tonyan this week.
Here's why I disagree, and it has nothing to do with the defense they're facing. I just wrote an entire paragraph on why I'm fading Tonyan, and the defense that he's facing didn't even come up. We're talking about a regression back to the mean, which is going to be a pretty steep one after he scored 3 touchdowns.
That's fine. And give me a touchdown.
And those 3 touchdowns were without Devontae Adams on the field whatsoever. So I'm expecting back to your mean, which is the targets are going to go to Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. And the tight ends are going to get lost in the shuffle like they have in the Aaron Rodgers system forever.
I don't disagree.
Tanyan's going to take a nosedive back to earth this week. Has nothing to do with the defense they're facing. It's just going to come down to opportunity. And I'm not playing Tanyan because he got marked up by $1,300 from last week or from 2 weeks ago.
That's scaring people off of him.
Yeah, but I think it's for a good reason because I don't see him getting enough targets to justify $5,100 when you can get Jonnu for $100 more.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. But there's one problem with your argument. Robert Tonyan is not a tight end. It's just his tag. He's actually a wide receiver.
And so is Jonnu. Jonnu's just as athletic, if not more. And
I don't hate
$100 between Jonnu Smith and the Eiffel 65 of tight ends, the one-hit wonder Robert Tonyan.
Oh man, I don't think he's a one-hit wonder. I really don't. I think he's in here for real.
No, I think he's better. I think he's
the next Darren Waller.
But I think he's going to come crashing down earth this week, and he's going to leave a lot of fantasy players in DFS wanting.
I can understand that. But I'm happy with the touchdown and 60 yards, and I think that's what he's going to give you this upcoming week. So. If he gets 2 touchdowns, it's great. That's even a better tournament play. So let's just say cheap guys and flyers. Drew Lock, we brought him up earlier. He's one of the cheapest guys on the slate. With his rushing upside up against New England this week, I think he has a chance to crush it. I think he has a chance to actually melt faces. The Patriots defense has not been dominant like we've seen in the past, and Lock is a major upgrade compared to what they've had over there in Denver. I really in order for this to really happen, I need to see Fant actually play this week. I need to see Fant in the lineup and actually healthy. If he's not in, I'm not so gung-ho on him, but I like Drew Lock as the 3rd cheapest starter on the slate.
Yeah, he is cheap, and
he has upside up against a bad New England Patriots secondary.
I wouldn't call it bad. It's just they're susceptible to big plays. And so if they go after Judy deep and if they find Tim Patrick deep down the sidelines like they've been known to do lately.
And Noah Fant.
I think Fant's going to wait another week. I really don't think he's going to be a factor this week. Even if he's on the field and active, he's going to be limping around as a decoy.
What about Aquavinum? Aquavinum.
What about him?
Maybe. Dude, he's a seam guy, right? Maybe he's a deep threat.
He could be. I'm higher on Lindsey this week. I'm higher on some of the backs. And Locke, it's tricky because the Patriots defense is staunch up front, and they stop the run pretty well. Yeah, but I see Lindsey swinging out. I see that if Gordon even gets to suit up, if he's not suspended, I do see them kind of keeping it conservative. They're going to take some shots, of course, because of that vulnerability in the New England defense, but they're still smart. It's still a smart and well-coached defense, and Locke is not that cerebral of a quarterback yet. He has potential, but at the price, I like him in certain places, but I'm kind of mild on him and higher on the weapons around him.
Would you at least take a shot on him, or are you off him? You're not going to be playing him?
I already have him locked in a couple of tournament lineups with Judy, and then one with Lindsey too.
Okay.
It's not like I'm off him because his price is really good,
and it allows you to play all these high end options of wide receiver too.
Yeah, and I'm just tempering his ceiling because I don't know that he's going to be able to break out he has the potential. That's why I'm going to play him. But it's just I'm kind of yeah.
All right. What about Irv Smith Jr.? Because I know you want to talk about him.
2,500 for a tight end who had 4 for 64 last week against Seattle, and he's going against Atlanta this week. We're going to have that same kind of shootout potential, and Atlanta's even worse against the tight end than Seattle is. Seattle was actually pretty decent against the tight end, and they bottled up Kyle Rudolph, which isn't hard anymore. But Irv Smith is a freak athlete, and he's been waiting to bust out. Everybody who owns him in Dynasty has been waiting for the guy to show off that athletic ability.
I've been waiting.
Yeah. He can't live on the taxi squad forever. And so I think that if there's any week where you can get a $2,500 tight end to bust out in a shootout, when everybody else is going to be on Thielen and Jefferson and Madison and even Mike Boone. I mean, you have lots of options that you're looking at in that game that are all viable, but one is $2,500 and has just as much athletic potential to break a big game, and that's Irv Smith.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Irv Smith this week. I will have him in a few lineups. I'm not going to have him overwhelmed, in any. I'll probably have him in like 20% of my lineups, but I like Irv Smith. I think that he's a good, solid play. I've been rooting for him for this entire 2 years now that he's been there, and he's a young guy. He has plenty of time to break out. He's only 22 years old, so I like Irv Smith a lot. I just don't know if I want him in every lineup this week. Like, I don't think he's like my smash play like I had with Fulgham and Claypool last week.
Where I've found myself putting him in the most is as a flex play with like a Mark Andrews at tight end. That kind of plays well too. A build that I've been working on is spending up for Mark Andrews because he's in a pretty smash opportunity this week as a rebound candidate for Lamar Jackson.
And that'll eliminate all your competition essentially, because very few people play two tight ends.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that all the time, but where you have a big upside cheap guy and then you have a solid floor expensive guy like Andrews, is you're getting differentiation and you're getting upside at the same time. And that's where I really like tournament lineups that have that opportunity, and it doesn't happen every week.
All right, so what about Mike Boone? I love Mike Boone. That's probably my smash play of the week. Whenever he saw at least a 30% snap share in the 3 games last year, he finished as an RB13 or better in 2 of those 3. I know he burnt a lot of people in the finals last year, right? He gave everybody that dud, especially after having a great game in the first game.
I somehow survived and won despite him.
I did too. I won the finals with him in my lineup in one of my leagues.
Yeah, it was ugly. Like, you're like, oh my God, I hate you, Mike Boone. What is wrong with you? Why aren't you doing anything? Like, you're poking him with a stick, like, do something. And I like him this week. I actually like him more as a contrarian play because I don't see a lot out of Madison. I mean, Madison is so overrated. Like, he's your number one handcuff.
Vision, man. He lacks vision.
He's a number one handcuff for a reason, because Dalvin Cook is always hurt and he's super good. And that running scheme should play to a great back performance no matter who's in there. Madison hasn't done it. It's like every chance he's gotten, he's either run into the back of the lineman or he's gotten hurt himself, and then Mike Boone's in the game anyway. It's like, what are you going to do with Alexander Madison? I'm fading the crap out of him. He's 6,100 this week. Miss me with that bullshit.
No, I agree with you 100%. I love Boone. I'm putting Boone in a bunch of different lineups. Oh man, who else do we have over here on our Flyers? We got Demir Bird. Demir Bird's sexy up against Denver, right?
You know I like him.
10 targets, 3 targets, 9 targets over the past 3 games. I mean, he's that field stretcher, and all it takes is 1 or 2 receptions to repay, that $3,500 salary. And
Cam Newton likes him.
Cam Newton does like him. That's why he's seen all these targets.
Yeah.
All right,
he's
Colin
guy,
Johnson.
He's fast. Like you said, Jacksonville's receivers for you this week are a little sketchy. And Colin Johnson showed something last week. He did show something, but I ended up was like, oh, C. Johnson, who the hell is that? It's like, he's not a guy. He's just a guy who had a good performance one week. I don't know. He's just another Conley or another, what's his name on that team. They're there on the roster, but they're not consistent.
So the difference is that if Shark misses time, right? If he misses this week, Conley's been terrible. Conley's been one of the worst wide receivers I've been watching this entire season.
He's not good.
And he did well last year, but I think last year was kind of like an outlier year compared to all of his previous stuff. I mean, he had Patrick Mahomes and couldn't perform with Patrick Mahomes. So if we sit there, we see Shark out, and we see Chris Conley drop another ball, I mean, Colin Johnson is getting more snaps each and every week. His snaps are actually growing. And this past week, he got 2 targets in the red zone. And the first target should have actually been a completion. Gardner Minshew actually missed him, right? Gardner Minshew missed Colin Johnson. But I'm telling you, like if
is Cole
Shark,
out?
What's up?
Is Keelan Cole out?
No, but Keelan Cole's a slot guy. Colin Johnson is more of like the intermediate route runner and the red zone target. And Eifert is questionable as well. So if Eifert misses time,
Eifert's dead. He's been dead for 3 years.
But I'm just saying, like those red zone targets that Eifert was getting, although it wasn't a lot, and O'Shaughnessy was getting could actually go to Colin Johnson. Colin Johnson could finish off this week with 2 touchdowns on 5 targets.
Yeah, and he's 3,000, so I mean it's worth a dart throw.
It's a dart. It's a complete and utter dart throw, but I still like it.
He's worth a dart throw, but I'm not feeling him the same way that you felt Claypool or Fulgham last week, because I mean Fulgham had the big target volume the week before that, and Claypool was going up against literally the worst coverage linebacker in the history of the world, and so you had some reason for that optimism. And I mean with Colin Johnson, I think it's there a little bit, but it's not the dart throw that you're expecting a bullseye on. It's just like, oh, that's a happy accident.
See, I'm huge on Colin Johnson to develop into a great deep threat wide receiver. Although he's slow, he's like Mike Williams, right? He can go up and get those balls that not many people can actually go and get.
Mike
and he's
Williams
a resident
pretty fast though too.
I know. I'm not saying that Colin Johnson is going to be anything even close to Mike Williams, to be honest, but I see him in the same type of role. So he's going to have games that he explodes, and I just feel like this could be one of the games early on in his career that we might not have foreseen prior to the season.
I didn't see it coming.
It's not Lynn Bowden time, right?
No. He's not a thing yet.
I mean, he had 3 rushing attempts for 4 yards.
How bad does he make the Las Vegas Raiders look for trying to make him into a running back? What a blown. That was just horrible.
That's frustrating.
It's like, just let the guy play football. You don't have to wedge him into a role that you have. It's like, it should be the opposite. The successful teams are taking a guy and saying, what are you good at? And let's make you do that. It's like the Raiders did it the opposite way, and it burned them bad. They lost.
Give Joe Reed a chance, right? Give Joe Reed a chance.
They lost like a whole 2 rounds of draft capital just by missing on that one.
All right. Last guy, Burton, who is chalk as hell this week. He's a bargain, but you can afford him as chalk, right?
Yeah, he's there. I have him in 1 lineup, I think. And so, yeah, you never know. It's right. I don't hate him.
Let's go ahead and build a lineup real quick.
Yep.
Kim, we're not actually doing start sit questions. However, we will have them up on the Sunday morning show for start sit. Make sure you guys check that out. We're going to go ahead and build a lineup, folks.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and build a lineup. So your start sit questions might actually be in here. You never know. All right. Bo, we got to start out with the stack, of course, right? Because that's how we do it. That's how we do it here at Fantasy Intervention. We normally start out with a stack. We did one without a stack. I did do a lone run, and it actually worked out pretty well with Cam Newton back in like week 2.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to stack this week because the stacks are there. And who are you thinking is going to be your stack this week? Because I think we're going to be at not opposite ends of the spectrum, but we're not going to be exactly on the same page. I like Ben Roethlisberger. I don't think he's going to have a lot of ownership at all. I think he's going to be like less than 2% owned.
Yeah, and I actually like it. I mean, go for it. That's it's not one was on my radar either, but it makes all the sense in the world because I mean he's still only 6,700, which is mid-range pricing, and so yeah, that's the upside is there.
Who else do you prefer? Like let's talk this out. Let's figure out who we would actually like to go with because Drew Lock came up in our conversation.
Yeah,
we
had Tannehill or even Cousins. Or Cam.
Man, I can't. So I like the Cam Newton thing, but we can't do the stack with the Cam Newton thing, right? Like we're not going to actually stack Amir Bird. We will in a couple lineups. So that's not one that we want to show the public, you know?
No, that one's not safe for work.
Yeah, that's not safe for work. Cousins, meanwhile, is also extremely volatile because they could end up running the ball with Atlanta. You know, they could end up blowing Atlanta out early. And then also we have the Tannehill one, which makes it interesting. Me personally, I still like the Ben Roethlisberger one over that. I know that you're bouncing out 800 for Tannehill, but Houston's defense has not been good against the running game.
Tannehill. Let's roll the dice with Roethlisberger.
All right, let's do it. Roethlisberger it is. Let's go ahead and bump over to the wide receivers, of course, and we talked about Juju Smith. Yeah, Juju's
that's
a guy.
A value. 6,600 for a guy like that. That's nice.
2 touchdowns, 100 yards. You heard it here first on Fantasy Intervention. All right.
I don't even know if he'll do that. He might have 10 for 75, but 1 or 2 touchdowns, and you got yourself a winner.
Yeah, you really do. All right, let's run it back with a Cleveland guy, right?
Yep.
I told you I believe it
You like Jarvis.
I like Jarvis, but you sound like you like Odell Beckham, huh?
I do.
Odell Beckham has that big playability, and Pittsburgh up against Slayton struggled, although it was week 1. They haven't allowed that many big plays outside of that to the wide receiver position. So that's what makes me nervous about playing Odell, but it is tournaments. I see Odell having like 4 receptions for 80 yards this game, to be honest. Like he will have a few big plays off the screens.
He's going to be a big part of their scheme, and that's the way I see it, is they're going to go out of their way to put the ball in his hands. Because I see this as kind of a similar game plan to when they played Dallas, where they're going to try to get out to a big lead with some gadget plays and then lean on them with the run game. That's the path to the Browns winning this game. And they're not just going into Pittsburgh to get close. They're going to try to beat Pittsburgh. And the way to beat Pittsburgh is with big plays.
So what's up with this illness?
Probably his pink eye with his history.
He said he has pink eye. Oh man. But for real, like Odell was out with an illness today.
Yeah. So I don't know. Nobody's come out with more information other than he was sick.
Let's go Odell, and then I can always opt to switch over to Jarvis Landry. What's the price on Jarvis?
If he's below,
oh my
50,
God,
49.
He's at 49.
What's his Q tag? What's that all about?
He's questionable, but I'm pretty sure he's likely to play.
Oh, that's just managing. Yeah, put him in there. 49's a steal.
49 is a steal, guys. Jarvis Landry is a freaking bargain this week.
That means you only need 15 points out of the guy to get 3x value. That's a steal.
I love that.
And nobody's going to have him. Nobody is going to have that guy.
All right, on to. Let's check out defenses. We like that Antonio Gibson stack, right?
Yes, definitely. Put Gibson and the Washington football team defense. That's just green light city right there.
I love that one. What's his price at again? 55?
55.
God, man, that's just sexy.
Washington's 33, I think.
Wait, I went past him. Where is he? Gibson, there we go. All right, and then defense is Washington's defense. They could be teeing off all day.
Yeah,
they're actually not bad price-wise.
3,300 against Daniel Jones, who he's good at turning the ball over.
It's going to be chalky, but it's actually not even the lead chalk, to be honest with you. So the chalk on defense, Tennessee is actually number 1. Or no, Miami's number 1.
Yeah.
Then Tennessee.
Then Washington. With Tennessee. Yeah. I'm surprised with Tennessee being up there. I mean, they're getting gouged pretty good.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, back over to DraftKings. We got Antonio Gibson. God, we're sitting here with 57.5 for the rest of these guys. What was one of the sleepers that you really liked, Bo? Or that we really liked? Like we both were like, oh, this is a hammer.
Damiere Byrd was one of them. And then
we didn't have too much agreement on the sleepers. Damiere Byrd was one. We'll come back to that. We'll see who fits in.
Yeah.
So let's go running back. We both like Aaron Jones, right? And that's not going to destroy us.
No, because he's 7,800 or 76.
Yeah.
And that leaves us value at tight end and then flex, and then we can maybe spend up a little bit on wide receiver. Which we don't have to do, because what I noticed and what I featured in my article is how weird the pricing went up so much for running backs this week and wide receivers that kind of stayed flat. And so I'm thinking that they are taking advantage of all the people that are pissed off with FanDuel. They got a bunch of fresh blood in the water. And
I saw that.
And so the running backs that are popular are getting marked up like crazy. And there's no reason for it. Like Todd Gurley is going to have touchdown regression this week. And so everybody's going to see, oh, look how many points Gurley's going to have. And they're going to spend up on extra $700 this week on Gurley. And that's not going to work.
I think we know who we want to go with at running back. I think you know too.
Yeah.
Say it so they know.
Myles Gaskin.
What? No.
No, just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding about him. He's a decent play, but who are you gonna say? Oh, Swift.
Yes, it's gonna be Swift for us, right?
Yeah, that's an easy call. Sorry, I was having a brain fart.
All right, so that leaves us at
Great
54. So
that's
we should
great.
go tight end with this, right? Tight end and figure out exactly which one fits into our price range. And Hawkinson's a good play this week. Evan Ingram's great too. You like Jonnu a lot.
I love Jonnu.
I like Jonnu too, and it would leave us with 52 left, which is definitely reasonable to play with.
And there's some good receivers in that little window there.
Let's see who's at 56 and higher or 56 and lower. I'm sorry. Jerry Judy's there.
Yeah.
That could be a smash play.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Or Marvin Jones Jr.
I say either way.
What is going on over there?
My cat just knocked down an entire stack of books.
Dude, this whole episode's been one big noise blender.
Yeah.
All right.
It's crazy out here.
God,
it's a jungle at my house. It's a jungle.
McLaurin's sitting at 57. And this was the stack that I was talking about that I think could really pay off. Do you like Jerry Jeudy more at 55? I mean, Jerry Jeudy didn't look great last, 2 weeks ago?
I like Jeudy more than I like McLaurin this week.
All right, let's roll with it then. We're rolling with it. We're going tight end then. Tight end is Jonnu Smith over Hawkinson. I like everybody for the Lions this week.
Do you trust Hawkinson to get enough targets, though? I don't.
No, but he doesn't. He just needs a target premium in the red zone, which he gets. He gets a lot of it.
So does Jonnu. Jonnu gets, I think, Tannehill targets the tight end fourth most in the league this year. So
yeah, and he's good. He's healthy. He's gonna be rolled out. All right, we'll go Jonnu. I love Jonnu, by the way. Jonnu's my number one, growing tight end. So
5,200 for probably going to be the tight end 2 this week. That's just what I'm saying.
I like it, man. I like it. That's going to be it. We're going to enter that in.
Win a chicken dinner.
Remaining salary 200, so we're right on point with that.
Yeah. Let's go Big Ben.
Yeah, for real. And, oh, man, Juju, you burned me a couple weeks, man. You need to stop doing that. All right, guys. This is going to end the episode for us. Thank you guys for tuning in, of course. Let them know where to find you, Bo McBigtime.
Twitter at Bo_McBigtime. My DFS articles twice a week are at nimblewnumbers.com. And I also write a hot takes article every Saturday for podcasticnetwork.com. It's called Picante, sponsored by my hot sauce, hotboxbatch.com. So get yourself some of that. Get yourself some Smoke Shack barbecue rub and eat well, my friends. I want you all fat and happy and full of riches this week.
Of course, man. And you guys can find our stuff at FF_intervention. And then, of course, join our circle _ afterwards, because some knitting company took join our circle with
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this
and
works.
They haven't used it in like 5 years, and I'm pissed.
They should have actually had.
They have no idea, guys. You can also find our content at linktr.ee/fantasyintervention. If you guys want to check out my Patreon, I actually post 3 different lineups on Patreon, so you guys can actually play those lineups or alter them slightly. It's $2 a month, guys. It's 50 cents a week. It's practically nothing. I know that Kenny over there is winning money on a regular basis, and I know that we actually had a guy win $6K off of switching up one of my players from one lineup to another. So, yeah, go join our Patreon, patreon.com/fantasyintervention, where you get $2 a month for 3 lineups a week. Or 3 lineups, I'm sorry, 3 lineups a slate. All right, Bo, you good to go? You got anything else to say?
I got to go. I'm hungry. I'm always hungry.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life. We're out.